ready, man? Party people in the place to be. It's about that time for us to. Yeah.
What's up, chiropractors? This is Dr. Nick Silveri, your guide up the mountain to $1 million practice. If you're looking for the roadmap to grow your practice fast, then keep on listening. This is the Path to $1 Million podcast, where I chat with today's most successful practicing chiropractors. And remember, if you want to get there faster, visit getmemorenewpatients.com to find out more about Leverage Media, the most comprehensive digital marketing agency for chiropractors on the planet.
Hey, what's going on, Circle of Docs? Today we are doing our book club interview. Man, I'm so stoked today because we have Dr. Nick Silveri with us. He is an expert in all things right here, guys, building a story brand. So what's up, Nick? How are you?
Good. How are you, Beau?
Good, man. You know, I'll be honest with you. When I started this book and I was looking for the person to interview, I actually had to search kind of far and wide because I was like, man, who's gone through this process before? Who has the knowledge and the understanding of every little detail about this book? So I actually reached out to our good friend, Dr. Alex Vidan, and he said, Beau, you have to talk to Nick. He's certified in StoryBrand. He knows it better than anyone else. So that's kind of how we connected. So I just kind of want to know, first off, like, how did you learn about Donald Miller and, you know, the StoryBrand?
Awesome. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm glad Alex was able to connect us. So I've been in practice since 2007. So I graduated from Logan. Actually, I've been in practice since 2006. I bought a practice, and then I started a second practice from scratch in 2007. In 2011, I stopped seeing patients on a day-to-day basis, and I replaced myself with an associate, and I started focusing on the marketing side of it. At the time, I was just kind of like fumbling my way through marketing, and I really started to get into content marketing. And about, I don't know, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, I saw him at a conference, which we were just talking about. It might have been the same conference that you saw him at. And it was a digital marketing conference. And I was just like blown away by how he was using the pieces of a story to be able to talk about a brand. So I ended up going to the workshop in Nashville for my digital marketing agency, Leverage Media. And then I loved that so much that I ended up going back and doing a second workshop for my office. And then I stayed and became a certified guide. The reason why I became a certified guide was because as with my agency, we do content marketing for chiropractors. We help them create content for their office and bring in qualified new patients. The problem is that they all had crappy websites. And so we would be sending traffic to these websites that were not set up to convert people. And they were putting the doctor forward as the hero. And so I would give them advice on how to fix it, but they would never fix it. So what I decided to do, I was like, I need to have an option to where if someone is serious about doing everything the right way, that we can get the website set up the right way. Now, StoryBrand is much more than websites, but that's the piece that really, it added a whole nother element to my agency. And it's just been so much fun to be able to learn that process and take people through it.
That's awesome. You know, one of the major things that I got out of this book, I think it was probably within maybe just the first couple of pages, it really focused on something that I think chiropractors and chiropractic in general need to open their eyes to. And I would love your input on this. And it has to do with not being the hero, but being the guide.
Yep.
Would you mind kind of talking a little bit about that and kind of how in context to doctors around the world? Because I feel like, and I don't know about you, but so many of us, and I'll put us as chiropractors, think that we have to kind of come in and swoop in and save the day, so to speak.
Right.
And what Donald Miller is suggesting with StoryBrand is that we've got that actually completely backwards.
That's 100% right. That's the biggest takeaway from the book, outside of, clarify your message. I do lots of strategy sessions with chiropractors where I go through their online presence, and almost all of them are making this mistake on their websites. They're making it all about either themselves or about the technique that they use or the services that they have versus what is it that you're solving for that problem. So I love it when he uses the Star Wars analogy. Luke Skywalker is the hero. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda are the guides. You want to position yourself as the guide because the guide is a transformed character. So identity transformation is the first thing that you want to come up with when you're coming up with your SB7 framework, which is the 7 pieces of the story. Your hero is your customer. You want all your messaging to be around that. A guide is someone who is already transformed. They're the strong character. The hero is the weak character. Luke Skywalker, he's not sure if he's good enough. He's not sure if he has enough training. He's just from a little planet on the outskirts of the galaxy. So the hero is a weak character that is looking for a guide to help them through their transformation. And because the guide is already transformed, that's why they're such a strong character. So you should be pushing away being the hero as much as possible because it's a weak character. Also, the patient, they have their own movie playing in their head. They wake up every day trying to win the day. They are trying to do the best they can in their own life. They do not care about you. They do not care about subluxation. They do not care about chiropractic. They just care about the life effect that comes from the adjustment. If you sprinkled brown sugar on their head and got them the same results and it was cheaper and faster, they'd rather take the brown sugar. That's why they all gravitate toward medications. Eventually, they realize that's not a long-term solution and they end up in chiropractor's office. But you've got to enter into the conversation where they're already at, which is about them.
You know, I thought that was such a powerful moment, especially for me, and I think for other doctors who are reading along with this, because, you know, so many, I think, chiropractors have this fear, and the fear is that they don't know enough or they don't know the full picture enough to, you know, share their opinion. And we were talking before about how you were hanging out with Gary Vee a couple of weeks ago, and his whole thing is all about document, don't create. So just documenting your journey through your life, through your practice, through the interactions that you're having in life. And when Donald Miller said that, as far as like, hey, don't be the hero, be the guide, that really kind of struck me as something. And I know a lot of doctors, because those are some of the questions that you guys have written in and asked me, is that was like kind of one of those ones where you put a star next to it and circle it on the paper, so to speak. Yep. I do want to take a couple minutes and dive into what you were talking about, which was clarifying your message.
Yes.
You've worked with lots of doctors. We've gone through this as well as we've been reading this. Give me some of your insights as far as where you believe that chiropractors are kind of screwing the pooch, so to speak, or really, you know, messing up in our messaging to the world and also our messaging to our current patients.
Great. So there's a couple of places that I really see almost across the board. Number one, they're trying to be everything to everybody all the time, right? So if you're not speaking to somebody, you're really speaking to nobody, right? The other thing is that their messaging speaks more to like a long-term health. You know, it's like a beautiful woman running on the beach, you know, pain-free. The problem is the people we'll just talk about websites for right now. You can use StoryBrand for content, for emails, all of the pieces of marketing, but just for websites, because that's what most people think of when they think of StoryBrand. On chiropractors' websites, they're talking about lifetime family wellness. They're talking about what it's going to be like in 6 months after you feel so much better. The problem is the majority of the people that are coming, unless your brand is, you know, some 6-month, 1-year program that's like really changing people's lives and people already know that in your marketplace, which I would almost bet my life that no one has really established that brand in their marketplace. What chiropractors have in the marketplace is a place where people in pain come to them to get out of pain fast. If your messaging is around something nebulous that's going to happen in 6 months, you're not going to be entering into the conversation where that patient is at. We do a ton of stuff in my office. My office is called the Springfield Wellness Center because we do so many different things: chiropractic, exercise, weight loss, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, cryosauna, acupuncture. There's lots of things that fall under the Springfield Wellness Center. The messaging that we have on our websites, though, it's about pain, because that's where people are coming. The people that call my office have some kind of body signal that they're dealing with. So if they're going to be coming to our website, because 95% of your traffic is going to be from people that have never been to your website before. So if 95% of your people that are on your site are potential new patients, you might want to talk to them about the things that potential new patients are wondering about. Can you get me in soon? Do you take my insurance? What's it going to be like? Talk to them about the things that they are questioning. The things that your front desk gets asked on those first phone calls, those should be on the homepage of the website. And stop making them find the information on your site. Just put it on one page. Make it a mobile-friendly environment so that they can just scroll through the information quickly, and you are clear on what it is that you are helping them with. And that's really the clarify your message piece, is make sure that you're talking straight to the problem that they have. If you're known for thyroid problems, talk about thyroid problems. Don't talk about low back pain. You know, I'm a big fan of having individual websites that have specific conversations about what it is that they want to find out. Somebody with neck pain doesn't care about somebody that you can help somebody with low back pain, and vice versa. So the more specific you can get with things, the better it can be.
What I think a lot of chiropractors are probably struggling with in their own like internal conflict with this conversation is that they're saying, hey, you know, Beau, I want to have a wellness clinic though. Like I want people for lifetime care. Shouldn't I be putting that forward so people are picking up on that? Or, you know, am I fishing with the wrong bait, so to speak? What are your
fishing
thoughts?
With the wrong bait? That is a conversation to have within the, again, you're making it, if you're like, listen, I've got a wellness practice. I want to talk about wellness practices all the time. That's great. The problem is you're not doing enough branding to attract people that are looking for that, right? I've yet to see a chiropractor in all of my strategy sessions and all of my conversations with doctors that are, including myself, that are doing enough branding to attract people that are just like, you know what? I'm at an 8. I want to go to a 9.5 through spinal adjustments. Can you help me out? Nobody has done a good job of that. So until we have transformed into that as a profession, we're better off talking to them about the thing. What I always think about, somebody said this as an analogy. Basically, we're on a staircase. We're at the top of the staircase where we're yelling about family lifetime wellness and making sure that your nervous system is functioning properly. The person is down at the bottom of the stairs, literally just like, but my back hurts. They just want to take the first step. So marketing is all about a step-by-step process. If you're running Facebook ads, the whole purpose of the Facebook ad is to get a click, not to sell them into lifetime wellness care. It's to get a click to take them to a landing page. The whole point of the landing page is to get them to fill out a form. The whole point of the form is to get them to make an appointment. The whole point of the appointment is to get the day 1, day 2. Then that process, your sales process, your onboarding process, that's what talks to them about lifetime wellness care for their entire family. You don't have to talk about that with your first interaction with the client. You know, we run Google ads for my office and for all of our clients. When they click on that Google ad, they have no knowledge of who you are or what you've been doing. They just clicked on the ad because it had some words that they cared about or is at the top of the page. When they click on that ad, they're going to this page. This is their first impression of you. And if you're talking about something that they have no interest in, they don't know that they should worry about lifetime wellness care. They think they're just like, I just want to get rid of these headaches. Can we just talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, I agree 1,000% with that. You know, I'm looking kind of through this SB7 framework. I have my book here, guys, if you're wondering why I'm looking down, or if you're listening to this on the podcast. A couple of things that really kind of struck me was we always talk about, it's not the hero, or don't be the hero, be the guide. It's the person that meets the guide. And one of the main things that really kind of hit me was who gives them a plan. And that step, which is step 4 in the 7, is one that I feel so many chiropractors sometimes kind of like really fumble over really quickly, or they'll just skip it altogether. Now, I believe some doctors really hammer this down. I need to see you X amount of times for whatever. But would you kind of just talk about that from maybe a patient's perspective as far as, what type of plan should we be presenting and how simplistic should we be, making this for the patient so they look at this and say, yes, that's the guy, that's the plan I want to be on?
So they recommend within the certified guide program, they recommend making the 3-step plan one of two types. One is a process plan and one is an agreement plan. So the process plan is basically like, what does it look like to become a client or a patient, right? Click on the button, come in for day 1, come in for day 2, make a decision, right? The agreement plan would be what has happened after they've agreed to become a patient. It's, get out of pain fast, increase your function, live the life of your dreams. What I like for websites especially is I like to do a hybrid of the two. So one of the biggest things that that you'll see with StoryBrand websites, and like if you want an example of a StoryBrand site that I've created, my site Leverage Media obviously is a story branded site. So it's lvrgmedia.com. And you'll see throughout there, the step that I want chiropractors to take when they land on that website is to schedule a strategy session. So throughout the website, there is only one call to action consistent throughout: schedule your strategy session. So for the 3-step process for a doctor on my story branded site that we're building for my practice, it is schedule your appointment today. Schedule your appointment today. So that is consistently through the website. So my step 1, why I'm saying it's a hybrid, is I want step 1 to be the step that I want them to take right now. So schedule your appointment today, right? Step 2 is what I normally do is I recommend having that be whatever your day 2 process is. So on my site, my step 2 was create a custom plan. Okay, so or it's create a custom care. I can't remember the exact wording, but it's basically like, let's come up with a care plan together that's custom to you. And then step 3 is that aspirational, transformational identity. Live a pain-free, energetic life. Because energy for me was the identity transformation that I wanted people to go through. I want it because if you have energy, if you're full of energy, it's hard to if you're in pain, you're not feeling energetic. So the only way that you can have lots of energy is if you're healthy, if you're happy, if you're moving well, if your body's working the way it's supposed to.
So process and agreement plans. And I know a lot of doctors have questions about that, like as far as how they were going to implement that. And I think you kind of hit it, the nail on the head. Like a lot of times when people are going to a website, you're trying to put them through a process of like, hey, look, make an appointment, call, schedule. But when they're in your practice, you need to find an agreement with them to ultimately help guide them along to their solution. Yeah. And that kind of leads me into the next thing, which I found was extremely powerful, was Donald Miller talks about here, is that says calls them to action. And I see so many doctors that say, well, here's what's going on with you. And then that's it. And they don't ever, deliver that call to action. Yes. So, let's talk a little bit about that, maybe in more of like a clinical setting. What are some ways that we as doctors, when we have a patient in front of us that we've just now presented a plan, how can we help call them to action more effectively so we get more yeses?
You need to, when we're talking about communication, you have to be consistent and clear with that message. And again, I would not speak too much beyond, if you're going to give them a care plan for say 3 months, you just talk about those 3 months. And really, you should maybe just talk about the first phase of the care. Like let's say you did phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 within that 3 months. And you did 3 times a week for 4 weeks, phase 1, 2 times a week for 4 weeks, phase 2, 1 time a week for 4 weeks, phase 3. What I would talk about is here's what the plan is for these 3 phases, but let's stay focused on this first phase. Let's talk about the thing you want, which is we're going to get you feeling better as fast as possible. Then we're going to just reassess at the end of those 12 visits, and we're going to make sure we're on path. So if we are, which 90% of people are, we're going to continue to phase 2, then we'll continue to phase 3. But stay focused on the thing that they care about. Sometimes when we get into these care plans, especially if you do a longer care plan, you can start talking about that transformation piece, which is fine, but you've really got to stay focused on, if you've done a good job of getting the life effect in day 1, why is it they're not coming in because of the back pain? They're coming in because the back pain is affecting their life in a negative way. So if you can stay focused on that life effect, that's really where that clarify your message comes in, is here are the things that you care about. Here's what I'm going to help you. Here's how I'm going to help you solve that problem right now. Right. And then you can give some credence to phase 2, phase 3, beyond. You can start to seed them for the future, but you want to have 80% of your messaging be around, here's the thing that you came in for, here's what you want to accomplish, here's how we're going to do it.
I love that. I absolutely love that. One thing that was really also kind of a thing that I wrote, and I got notes, guys. I don't know if you guys, when you guys are reading your books, but like, I hope if you can see my book, it's got like stuff written all over it. And this is one of the most powerful things I do. I always circle stuff, and I always write little notes. So if you're not doing that, definitely would encourage you guys to do that. The next thing that he talks about is, a guide that helps them avoid failure. And I see so many people, especially that come into our practice, patients that say, Beau, I've done these other things, right? You're my last resort. I don't know what to do. I've taken hundreds of medications. I'm not getting any better. And they're feeling already like a failure. So how can we clarify our message so that we say, yeah, we're here to partner with you so you don't experience those failures? So
in the SB7 framework, the last step is coming up with what success looks like, what success looks like if they engage your brand, and what failure looks like if they fail to do so. So how many of us have had somebody come in for day one, come in for their report of findings, that they're a perfect candidate for whatever it is you do. They've told you that their life is in shambles. They seem like they're financially able to do it, and then they just decide not to for whatever reason. Maybe we didn't build the value, maybe the message wasn't clear enough, whatever it might be. In the framework, though, failure is really more about making sure that they understand what it would look like if they did not engage with your practice. So what you want to do is you want to talk to them about, Mary, you've gone the medical route. You've gone to physical therapy. What do you think would happen if, we've talked about the plan that I've laid out here. What do you think would happen if you didn't take me up on this? And then you let them say, well, it'd probably keep getting worse, and what would that be like? So you want to let them, now on a website, when you're wireframing it out, you've got, or with your story brand script, you've got to figure out, what do those failures look like? The one little tidbit I would give you guys is sometimes it's easy to go a little too doom and gloom with the failure. You want to try to keep the failure more short-term and not long-term. Don't tell them, they've got some degeneration at L4, L5, and tell them, if you don't sign up for this care plan, you're going to be in a wheelchair inside of a year. So just say, all they need to know is that it's going to continue to get worse, because they're already in there because it's bad enough for them to take action, which is usually a lot. So for it to get worse, for it to happen more frequently, for it to be more intense, that is not something that they're interested in. So the failure needs to be short-term enough so that they know, even if it just got 10% worse than what it is, they're not willing to deal with that. On the success side, that's where you can be like, this is what it looks like when you engage with our practice. Not only are we going to get the short-term results, but we're going to help you towards the long-term results. And that's where you can get more into the wellness side of things.
So kind of wrapping this thing up a little bit here, because I know your time's super valuable. Could you maybe just give us 2 or 3 of maybe your top things that you see most chiropractors are making mistakes, maybe on their website or in their presentation, that really aligns with what building a story brand is all about?
For sure. So number 1 is having a clear message and speaking to what the hero wants. And it's usually to get them out of some kind of problem. Whether that, if you're a functional medicine doc, that could be something more metabolic. It could be something with their thyroid. But if you're a musculoskeletal doctor that mainly does adjustments, you want to try to stay focused on the body signals that's bringing people into your practice. So that's number 1, is really clarify your message. Number 2 is all of these websites that I see, whether they're custom built, by somebody local, or whether you're using one of the chiropractic website companies, is these sites are really built for a desktop world. They're desktop first, and they're made to be mobile friendly. What I would recommend is that you make your website mobile first, and then it will become desktop friendly. It's not hard to make something desktop friendly, but the mobile first, what I mean by that is, instead of having 900 pages on your website, simplify it down and put more content on the homepage, because that is where the vast majority of your traffic is going to end up on. So instead of hoping that they find it through the maze of your website, just put the information that a new patient might be looking for on the home page so that it's long and scrollable. Also, make sure that you've got bite-sized pieces of information, bullet points, images, something that makes it easy to scan. People don't read websites, they scan websites. So make it easy to scan. And then the third thing is have one call to action of the thing that you actually want them to do. So if you want them to schedule an appointment, your call to action needs to be schedule your appointment today, not, call us. You don't want them to call you. You want them to schedule the appointment. Now, do they have to call you to schedule the appointment? Maybe. I would recommend having a way for them to schedule online where they can actually see your calendar and pick a time. There are third-party software companies now that do that can read your EHR schedule, and they can actually pick a time. Since we've added that onto our website, we get so many more people that just schedule their appointment on the website. But have a very clear call to action and have it everywhere throughout your website. Donald Miller always says that your call to actions are your cash registers. So those are going to be you want to put the cash registers everywhere you can. So what I do is when we're scrolling through the homepage, I want to give you an easy way. If you go to leveragemedia.com and you're a chiropractor that's looking for a done for you digital marketing solution that focuses on content marketing, you'll be scrolling through the site. At some point, you're going to be like, you know what? This guy seems like he knows. He's a chiropractor. Seems like he knows what he's talking about with the marketing stuff. I want you to easily be able to click on that button when I have met the threshold that you have in your mind that I'm okay. Instead of you've met the threshold and now I have to search for that button. Or there's like 6 different calls to action, which I see on more than a few chiropractic websites. So those are probably my biggest 3.
Fantastic. Hey, Dr. Nick, I just want to say thank you, man, so much for coming on and sharing with us and your wealth of knowledge. And for all the docs who are going to watch this, I hope you guys are enjoying this book club. And, the reason that we're doing it is because of these conversations. Because, when you listen to a conversation with a person like Dr. Nick, who's just a wealth of knowledge, and you can correlate that to what you're reading inside the book, that's when you start to see the changes in your practice. You see them personally, financially. And, I really encourage you guys to, continue to dive into all of these books that we're going through each and every month. Next month in August, we're doing Profit First, learning how to, pay yourself first before paying everyone else. And I just find that I hope there's a lot of value with that. So Nick, I'm gonna let you kind of, wrap this thing up at the end here. Definitely mention where doctors can find you if they're interested in learning more about how to clarify their message and ultimately, potentially use your services as well.
Awesome. So I could not agree more with when you read these books, take action. You said something before we got on the call that whenever you go to a presentation, you try to take one thing away. And I mean, there's so much information out there that if you don't take action, it's great to read Building a Story Brand book, but if you never do anything about it, it's like, kind of what's the point, right? So I have my marketing agency, Leverage Media, but then we started Chiro Story websites because we started getting so many people that wanted to build the story brand sites. So if you go to chirostorywebsites.com, you can opt in to do for me to do a free website audit on your website. and I'll just take you through and show you, where you're making mistakes, how you can make it better. If you want to go off and do it on your own, awesome. I'll give you lots of good information that you can use. If you want to hire us to take you through the story brand process and build out a beautiful custom story branded site that really is specific to your message, not just some cookie cutter website, but what's specific to your message. Because what sells on a website are the words on the screen, and those words need to be in your voice and they need to be your message, not some message that I put into your mouth. So ChiroStoryWebsites.com is where you can do the website audit. And if you're interested in doing more content marketing that's going to drive people to that website, leveragemedia.com, that's LVRGmedia.com. If you do a strategy session, we'll not only do the website audit, but we'll look at everything with your online presence, your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube, your Google presence, and I'll give you advice on that as well. So, Beau, I super appreciate you having me on. I love talking about StoryBrand, and I love Profit First too. So I'm excited for next month.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. And until next time, guys, as always, let us know if you have any questions. I'll talk to you later.
Just because this episode is over doesn't mean you can't continue your path to $1 million practice. We've created Chiropractic's most full-service marketing agency at Leverage Media to help you reach $1 million a year fast and continue to grow. You can get a free strategy session with me absolutely free right now. To get started, go to getmemorenewpatients.com. Once again, go to getmemorenewpatients.com, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Path to $1 Million podcast.